Have you ever wondered how a self-driving car or a medical diagnostic tool can look at a total mess of real-world data and somehow make a smart, reliable decision? Well, it turns out there's this critical, often overlooked partnership at the very heart of it all. So today, let's pull back the curtain and see how it really works.
You know, it all starts with a problem that looks something like this. To you and me, that's obviously a number, but to a machine, it's just a jumble of pixels. It's noisy, maybe it's not centered right, the scale could be totally off. The fundamental challenge for any kind of intelligence system is to somehow cut through all of that noise and find the real pattern hiding underneath.
So, what's our ultimate goal here? When you're dealing with all this uncertainty, you can't just use simple if-then rules. No, you need something way more robust. You need what you could call a perfect decision engine, something that can navigate all the gray areas and consistently make the best possible choice.
And that engine actually has a name, Bayes' decision theory. Now don't let the name intimidate you. At its core, it's a really beautiful and honestly simple idea for making the best possible guess. It's just a mathematical way of playing the odds, of weighing all the evidence to land on the most probable conclusion.
Really, it's all built to answer this one simple question. Given the pixels I'm looking at, is it more likely to be a 3 or an 8? Or, based on these symptoms, is this more likely to be disease A or disease B? This single principle is the absolute bedrock of countless AI and machine learning systems that we use every day.
But, and this is a huge but, this perfect engine, as powerful as it is, has a critical weakness, a single, glaring vulnerability that can bring the entire system crashing down if we're not careful. The thing is, real-world data is, well, it's a mess. It's almost never clean, it's full of random noise from sensors, it has missing information, it's got features on wildly different scales. I mean, imagine trying to compare a person's age, which is a number like 35, to their income, which might be 80,000. Without some kind of adjustment, the income number will just completely dominate. It's inconsistent and it's full of junk.
And right there, that's the Achilles heel. The old saying is just brutally true in this field. Garbage in, garbage out. You can have the most sophisticated, theoretically perfect decision engine in the world, but if you feed it noisy, inconsistent, messy data, you are absolutely going to get flawed, unreliable, and sometimes even dangerous decisions on the other end.
So how do we fix this? How do we protect our perfect engine? Well, we introduce an unsung hero into the process. It's a crucial, highly skilled step that I like to call the data janitor. Okay, so officially it's called data processing or pre-processing, but I want you to think of it like a meticulous janitor who comes in before a huge concert. They sweep away all the trash, they organize everything, they make sure the stage is perfectly set, so the main performer, in our case, the Bayes engine, can absolutely shine. This isn't just about tidying up, it's a critical foundational skill that literally determines the success of the whole show.
So what does this cleaning actually involve? Well, there are a few key operations. First, we smooth out those random errors. Then we normalize the features, so they're all on a level playing field. We resize and reorient things, so we're always comparing apples to apples. And finally, we have smart strategies for dealing with any missing bits of information.
And this right here shows you just how powerful something like normalization is. Before we do anything, that feature with a value of 200 would just scream louder than the value of 2 in any calculation. It would completely dominate the decision. But after normalization, look at that. They're put on an equal footing, which allows our decision engine to weigh their importance fairly.
Okay, so we've got our perfect engine and we've got our data janitor. Now for the most important part. How does the work of one directly supercharge the performance of the other? What's the real connection?
Here it is, the crucial point. The Bayes engine runs on probabilities. That's its fuel. And to work correctly, it needs to be able to accurately estimate the real underlying probability distributions in the data. Clean data makes that estimation possible. Messy data makes it impossible. It's as simple as that.
To get a bit more specific, things like outliers just wreak havoc on the two key numbers that describe our data. You've got the mean, which is basically its center of gravity, and the covariance, which describes its shape and its spread. If those two parameters are calculated incorrectly because of messy data, the engine's entire understanding of reality gets warped.
Now, a key piece of information that's hidden inside that covariance matrix is something called correlation. Simply put, correlation just tells us how different features relate to each other. You know, do things like height and weight tend to go up together? Capturing that relationship is absolutely vital for understanding the data's true structure.
And you can really see what I'm talking about here. When features aren't correlated, the data points form a nice, simple circle or oval that's aligned with the axes. But when they are correlated, the whole cloud tilts. Our Bayes engine needs to know the exact angle and shape of that tilt to draw an accurate line between categories, and it gets all that information from the covariance matrix.
So let's tie this all together. This is where the rubber meets the road. Normalization? That makes sure our probability estimates are fair. Removing noise? That helps the data fit the theoretical models our engine uses. Handling those pesky outliers? That gives us a stable, reliable estimate of the data center and its shape. See? Every single cleaning step directly feeds a critical need of the Bayesian framework. They're a team.
But wait, we can make our decision engine even smarter. So far, we've only really cared about being right or wrong. But what if some mistakes are much, much worse than others?
I mean, really think about it. Is telling a healthy person they might be sick the same as telling a sick person they're perfectly healthy? Of course not. The consequences are worlds apart.
And this leaves us to two very different ways of making a decision. On one hand, you have the minimum error rule, which simply tries to be wrong as little as possible. It assumes every mistake is equal. But on the other hand, you have the much more powerful, more real-world minimum risk rule. Its goal is to minimize the expected cost of its mistakes, fully acknowledging that some errors are way more costly than others.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The cost of a false negative in a cancer screening, missing a real case, is catastrophic. The cost of a false positive, while definitely stressful for the patient, just leads to more testing and eventually clarification. A truly intelligent system must understand this difference.
Now let's make this concrete with some numbers. Look here. The raw probability of class 2 is a little higher, so a simple minimum error rule would pick it, no question. But what if we're told that missing class 1 is 5 times more costly? Suddenly, the minimum risk calculation completely flips the decision. It tells us to choose the less likely but much safer option to avoid a potential disaster.
And that is the whole point, really. Incorporating risk is what allows us to go from a system that's just mathematically correct to one that is useful, responsible, and actually aligned with real-world human values and consequences. And that leaves us with one final and pretty heavy question. As these AI systems get more and more integrated into high-stakes fields like medicine and autonomous cars, that cost we program into them isn't just a number in a spreadsheet. It's a direct reflection of our values as a society. So, who gets to decide what those values are? That's a conversation we all need to be a part of.